We've got White Walkers coming up to her while she's getting felt up by some octopus tentacles. Is this hentai or is this a video game? How the heck are you, everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. Boy, guys, when it rains, it pours. We got a message this morning from our dev contact letting us know on the test server, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 new legendary heroes. That's right, 6 new legendary heroes have been added to the game. I have not looked at any of them yet, so we're going to do a blind initial reaction. I'll do my, first assessment. I cannot wait to check these guys out. Let me show you who they're going to be. So we'll go down through the factions. First up, we've got from the Watchguard, we've got this guy over here, Lucius. He is a Watcher marksman. He does piercing damage. He looks kind of like this interesting Red Dead Redemption kind of crossbow cowboy. Very, very cool stuff. Then in the North Throne, moving right down along the list, we have got Jeera over here. She's a Northerner and an Arbiter fighter. We've seen her a bit before with some of the leaks Destined and the Leak Boys have put forward. I covered her briefly in a reaction I did to one of Destined's videos. I think she looks awesome. I freaking love this giant lion hammer. Now moving right along to the Nightmare Council, nothing. Cursed Cult, here's an interesting one. So Dragon Girl, she is here. There is Anora. If you saw my video from 2 days ago and then all the other coverage everyone did, in the leaks originally it said she was a cultist and a Northerner. It was very cool to get another Northerner mage. That's not the case. She's a cultist and an esotericist. So they made a change. We're going to break her down. I mean, she's got a little tushy. Crazy stuff going on there with her. Now onto the Infernals. This one looks amazing. We've got Myca. She's an Infernal marksman. She deals magic damage, so another magic damage dealing marksman. Can she be as good as like Hex? I don't know. We have to check out the kit. And then finally, isn't that everybody? Oh, if we go to the Esotericist, the final one, actually we got 2 more. We've got Init, who we've heard of before. He's the big reward for the new Odyssey quests. He's an Arbiter and an Esotericist mage. And last but certainly not least, probably the guy we're going to cover second today, we've got who I'm going to call Ymiret. This dragon is absolutely nuts. You can see he has a video. I haven't seen it yet. Cannot wait to see what that cinematic looks like. He also has a bond skill with Anora, so that is now confirmed. Let's break all this down. Let's do our first impressions, and let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
Alrighty, guys, so we've got 2 of these 6 that share a bond skill. That's going to be Ymiret and Anora. So how about we start over there with Anora, Dragon Girl. She looks amazing. She is set up to be our second upcoming limited hero. First up, we're going to get Dahlia. We've talked about her ad nauseum at extended length, and then we're gonna get Anora. So I think she looks brilliant, very naked, but kind of par for the course for a lot of these limited. I mean, this is crazy. Like, let's just be honest, this is absolutely wild. She has a cinematic, so let's watch this thing. Let's see. All right, she's getting kind of felt up by these weird, this is crazy, oh my god, these weird tentacles. What on God's green earth? What is this? What is this? What the hell? We've got White Walkers coming up to her while she's getting felt up by some octopus tentacles. Is this hentai or is this a video game? Jesus. All right, now she's on Ymiret's back, absolutely partying, doing some wild stuff. Beautiful cinematic. Beyond bizarre. Beyond bizarre. Very good looking hero, though. I think a lot of people are going to be big fans. They're definitely going for a lust thing again. I mean, let's just watch those first few seconds. I mean, what the hell? What is this? All right, whatever. Let's talk about that. That's crazy. Anora, who fell from heaven for love, cherishes every sunset she views, together with Ymiret. So maybe her and Ymiret are a bit more than friends. Very bizarre. Let's get right into the kit. I've not looked at anything. Obviously I did my initial leak breakdown. Now it's all kind of set in stone. Granted, things can change a little bit. We are on the test server, but it's fairly set in stone, or at least it's very close to what the final form is going to look like once it reaches this far along the new hero creation process. Once it reaches here, we're getting close, right? We are getting close. So we can finally find out about that range. So let's see. No, so when it's max promo, it stays with that normal range, even though she's a high cost unit. She's coming in at 22 costs. Let's start with the talent. When deployed, she summons Labor. Labor inherits 100% of the master's attributes. She is the master here. Maybe Labor is the crazy tentacle kind of thing we just saw. I don't know. And assist the master in attacking enemies in range. Cool that it assists the master, right? Assists her, so she's dealing damage, and so is Labor. Each attack deals 90% AoE magic damage to up to 8 enemies. I love that they say the actual amount. Labor permanently gains Sanctity. We don't know this. Immune to most buffs and debuffs. If that's not vague, I don't know what is, but pretty interesting. So some nice general immunity there. Upon death of an allied summon, Labor gains 1 stack of Ancient Spirit. This is going to increase Labor's attack by 1%. Can stack attack up to 15 times. So at max, if you get 15 other summons to die on the field, you have a 15% post-deployment attack boost. Pretty nice. Now the basic attack deals 90% AoE magic damage to up to 5 enemies. Remember, Labor will also be dealing the same 90% to up to 8, so that's very nice. You can see this can go up by an additional, let's see, her basic attack damage can go to 100. Labor's can be another 10, so Labor can go up to 100 as well. So she can deal 100 to up to 5 enemies, Labor can deal 100 up to 8 enemies. So pretty nice, you know, if they're attacking in conjunction, if there are 5 or less enemies, it's 200% damage per hit. That's a really, really strong multi-target magic damage basic attack. Let's go to the ultimate now, Worm Dive, I don't know how to say that. Sounds the same as like the worm snare, the worm snare from Kai. Anything that sounds like Kai, I don't like, but whatever, let's continue. We actually have costs now. Very nice initial cost at 700, and this can go down to 900 rage costs to do the skill. We can get some nice damage boosts, so let's make a note of that now. So dealing 360% AoE magic damage, it can go up another 40, so it can go up to 400% AoE magic damage. So when this is active, Labor is going to deal that 400% at max skills, up to 10 enemies. Again, I really enjoy that they're telling us the number of enemies it hits, and it increases Labor's damage by 110% during the ultimate, lasting for 20 seconds. Okay, sweet. So, and I actually think, if I'm looking at this right, the 40% increase is going to be applied not to the AoE magic damage, but to this damage boost. So this is pretty important. Essentially, the way I'm reading this, and I think this is going to shake out, Labor does a big burst of 360% AoE magic damage at the start of this, and then for the subsequent 20 seconds, keeps doing the normal basic attacks. However, with the max skill ups, it's 150% more damage, so it's a 2.5x multiplier. That's very strong, right? Already doing 100% damage, so it'd be 250% damage per basic attack up to 8 enemies, lasting for a nice long chunk of time. Let's see actually really quickly. She had pretty low base stats. Did that continue? No, it didn't. Okay, so if you guys remember that initial video, I was like, wow, her attack is low. It was like 4,030. Which would have been like very, very low for a mage. Usually you're seeing like 4,300, that's like Jeera, 4,600, that's Comet. She's all the way up now at 4,855. That's very high for an AoE magic damage dealer. Very happy with that. So her and Labor should be really strong together. Let's do the passives now. When attacking, Labor has a 10% chance. This can go up to a 20% chance to generate Noxious Breath. When the ultimate is triggered, he will generate Noxious Breath immediately. So Noxious Breath is a new kind of dot damage. It lasts for 6 seconds. We've never seen a dot damage over time last for 6 seconds before in this game. 20% magic damage per second to up to 8 enemies in range. Airborne units take half that damage. So they're going to get 10% magic damage per second for the airbornes. For ground and melee units, it'll be a full 20. Cool that it lasts longer than the standard 5. Sometimes we'll see like burning lasts 7 seconds or 8 seconds, but 6 seconds, pretty good. Nice little bonus there. Nothing else interesting. It's just magic damage per second. It doesn't come with any crowd control effect or something like that. But, you know, we'll take it, and guaranteed to do it during the ultimate for that crazy period of 20 seconds. I think this is reading very, very, very strong. Now we've got Agitation, a passive. When on the battlefield, increases the attack of Labor by 10% and grants damage increase to all other allied summons. So let's see. The damage increase is going to be 10%. That is fixed. With skill ups, this attack, and again, this is post-deployment, this can go up to 15. So you could have Labor with a 30% post-deployment attack boost, right? Because if you can get 15 deaths of summons, still TBD what counts as summons, right? Like the crows that Kriya summons, are those summons? Someone pointed out in my last video, the Komodo spirit from the Wailing Skull artifact that fighters have, when that disappears, is that a dead summon? Like, we'll have to test this all out and figure this all out. Maybe the devs will explain it to us. That's an additional 15%. This is a 15%, so totally be 30% post-deployment with already pretty high attack, right? Because Labor's getting, I believe, was it 90? No, 100% of the master's attributes. Really cool. Really, really cool. And then now we've got the bond skill. So if you're able to get Ymiret and Anora, it unlocks this. Summons Labor Ice instead of Labor. Labor Ice inherits 100% of the master's attributes, assists the master in attacking, deals 15% increased damage to controlled enemies, works very well, like a nice cultist synergy since she has cultist dual faction membership. Each attack deals 110% AoE damage as opposed to the base 100% with skill ups. So then this would be 120% with skill ups now, with a 30% chance to inflict Winter's Bite. for 3 seconds. They're not telling us what Winter's Bite is. We can't click on that, but sounds great. Maybe it's some kind of freeze or something. This reads very well. I think if you can snag yourself a Labor, you're going to want it because he's unnameable, right? It's going to be very, very cool. And you can snag yourself a Anora, who should be an exclusive 250 guaranteed for the anniversary. Look at that, Tushy. Looks awesome. Let's very quickly do Awakenings. When Noxious Breath is generated, immediately inflicts Immobilize. So now you actually do have a crowd control in conjunction with Noxious Breath. That's very strong. Plus 300 attack. That was already good, but now this is going to put her over 5,000. This will make her like 50, 100 plus base attack if you can snag her A2. Labor ignores 15% of the magic res. We knew that. Really good. He's dealing magic damage, so it's basically like ignoring 15% of magic defense, another 8% because penetration just ignores everything, so it'd be 23% total. And finally, enemies on tiles affected by Noxious Breath receive 20% increased damage, so another damage multiplier. Amazing hero. This reads so well. This is very exciting. Now let's go to the partner. I'm going to try to go fast here, guys. This is going to be a long video. We've got a lot to cover. Let's do Ymiret now, so the other half of the partnership, of the little hero bond here. So crazy thing, let's watch this video. Is it going to be super horny and sexy again? I don't know. Let's see. Flying through the sky, we got an icy little dragon. Big Yu-Gi-Oh vibes out of this guy, in my opinion. There she is again, absolutely writhing on the floor. What is going on? Jesus Christ, Watcher of Realms. I mean, if it gets more people playing the game, I'm all for it, right? There's our boy. Pretty similar cinematic. He's a cool looking hero. I can't get over this. Like, God, titties up towards the sky on the back, like completely just rolling around. It's something. It's definitely something. All right, let's start with the stats. So you can see Labor, this is without promotions. He's going to have the typical kind of Arrogance, Absent, Zealot, Admiral Claw range. Very good range for a fighter. Multi-target, flexible damage type, freeze. Curious about flexible damage type. We'll see more about that in a second. Solid attack, not too high for a fighter, 47-18. Defense is pretty good. Magic res is whatever. HP is whatever. 20 costs, so a bit high for a fighter. That's the same as someone like Volca. Whereas like Arrogance or Zealot, they're doing 18 costs. You know, people like Ardia or I'm trying to think, Abomination are 17 costs, so a bit on the higher end. 2 block as standard, 2.6 attack and roll, very standard. All right, so at 14 Rage Regen Auto, a lot of standard kind of stuff here. Let us continue. Let's read this talent. When deployed, unleashes Boreal. I'm going to say Boreal. Boreal wins, inflicting slow on all enemies within 2 tiles and extending the effect duration of freeze on them by 50%, up to a maximum extension of 1.5 seconds. Interesting. So if they have a freeze of at least 3 seconds or more, it will be a 1.5 second boost. The hero also gains freeze immunity. That's interesting. There's not much content where we get frozen. Maybe he has something where he would normally freeze himself. I don't really know. Freeze immunity says immune to freeze. All right. Interesting little kit here. Let's see what this slow is. It's a 25% slow, not very strong. It also is not telling us the duration, which is bizarre. Let's see this freeze, not telling us the duration of that as well. Cool little crowd control thing right off the bat. He is unnamed. Does he have the unnameable boost? Yes, he does. So he's got like the same kind of new unnameable Lord skill like what Ix has, a 4% damage boost globally to all team members, and this is for both rows. People have done some testing. I know War Guides tested that out. So the A2, yes. So he's getting the whole Lord treatment. This is going to increase the Ancient Blood damage, increase the global to not 4%, but 6%. You get an additional 2%. Just wanted to check that. So he will be considered a Lord. So this will be a hard bond skill to get. You're going to probably have to snag him on his rate up or just get really lucky. He's going to be the same rarity as like Ix and those standard Lords. We're going to have to see if he's Ancient exclusive. TBD. I would guess no. I think he'll get the same treatment as Ix. Okay, let's go into the skills now. 80% AoE damage to the target. You can see he does normal physical damage, and this can go up to 100. Yes, this can go up to 100 AoE damage, up to 5 targets surrounding the enemy. He's got this nice range. So cool AoE fighter right off the bat. That might explain the lower attack. They don't want him to be too OP. I mean, 4718 is not bad, but it's just certainly not good compared to some other fighters. I mean, Ardia's up there with 7,900 or whatever, but lots of fighters have like over 6,000 or more. Usually over 5,000. Frozen Tempest here, this is the ultimate. You can get this down to 900 skill cost, 900 rage that you need to trigger it, and the duration can last an additional 5 seconds up to 20 seconds. This is definitely something you're going to want to skill out. So, when activated, ascends into the air, expanding the attack range and increasing block to 0. It should not say increasing, it decreases the block to 0, because normally he has block of 2. But you can see he can't block anyone because he flies up in the air. He's no longer a melee unit at that point. Expanding the attack range, I'm sure will be the same as like a Zealatu or Arrogance. It will, instead of being like the kind of hammer shape, you know, the 3x2 with the line that goes up, it will fill out in like a 3x4 rectangle. So imagine if we look at this range here, it will fill out these two squares and these two squares. Those tiles will fill out the whole range to be a proper rectangle. Basic attack now turns into Frost Breath, which deals 140% AoE magic damage. So this is what they're talking about with flexible damage type. He normally does just normal physical damage. However, it changes to magic damage during the ultimate. That's pretty interesting. So it's going to be 140% AoE magic damage to the target and their surrounding enemies. It hits up to 8 enemies and inflicts 1 stack of Winter's Bite. So now we actually are going to get to see what Winter's Bite does. Before we do, this can go up to 180% AoE magic damage. And remember, the duration can be 20 seconds. Cost can be 900. So what is Winter's Bite? Because we know Labor gets this if you have the bond skill between Ymiret and Anora. And it is some kind of crowd control. Reduces movement speed by 25%. Stacks up to 3 times. So if you can get 3 stacks on it, it's a full 75% slow. So the big version of slow. When reaching 3 stacks, it also inflicts freeze on the target for 2 seconds. Does not apply to targets already inflicted with freeze. Interesting. So you can get a not very good slow at 25, then a solid slow at 50, and then right when you hit the big slow, it's just a full out freeze. Not saying how long the slow lasts, but I think instead of the 75% slow, it's just a straight up freeze. So very good stuff. Allies within the talent range receive freeze immunity, again, immune to freeze, during the effect duration. We must be getting content where we could be frozen, right? That's what this seems to all be pointing towards. The second mention of freeze immunity in this, and nothing's coming to mind where we get frozen by enemies in Watcher of Realms. You guys let me know if there's something I'm not thinking of, but maybe there's future content where this freeze immunity is going to be very clutch. Seems like a really good hero already. Let's see now. Frost Breath. When targeting enemies inflicted with freeze, ignores 15% of their defense. That is very strong because he does all these AoE hits, and they're ignoring defense. That is huge in this game. Attack is king. This means your attack is worth more, and the thresholds you have to clear are then lower because the defense of the enemies essentially is lower since you're ignoring a chunk of it. When Winter's Bite on any enemy triggers freeze, so when you get the 3 stacks, deals an extra magic damage ranging from 80% to 360% based on the effect duration on the triggered freeze. Okay, so how long do these normally freeze? How long does this freeze normally last? They're still not telling us, right? There's the 2-second freeze that we know from Winter's Bite that can happen. But I guess if you're using someone like Mari with very long freezes or like Boreas, he might work very well in these freeze synergy teams. But that is a lot of variance, right? It can be all the way from not so strong 80% to a very strong 360%. This magic damage reaches its maximum when the effect duration reaches 4.5 seconds. So I guess you can get I guess if it's half a second, that must be what it is. If it's half a second, it's only 80%, and then it scales all the way up to 360% if you can be 4.5 seconds or longer. So we'd have to go through and see who all have the longest freeze durations in the game. Similar to Boreas, though, right, where he deals more damage based on the duration of the freeze. So he probably will work really well on a team with like Boreas and Mari and something that you know comes to my mind immediately. He's unnamed, so he's very flexible. He can basically be like a Ditto and fit into any faction. That's pretty cool. God, there's a lot of kit to read on these heroes, guys. Glacial Scales. When deployed, gains 4 stacks of scale armor. Scale armor increases damage by 5% and all damage reduction by 5% per stack. You get 4 stacks, so when you're deployed, you start with an increased damage boost of 20% and damage reduction of 20%. When possessing scale armor, deals higher damage to closer enemies, up to a maximum increase of 20. And that's on top of the normal scale armor increase that you can get with the stacks. When receiving damage, loses 1 stack of scale armor. Up to 1 stack can be lost every 1 second. When the ultimate ends, restores scale armor to full stacks. Interesting. So after the ultimate, you're back up to the 4 stacks. Very, very nice. You can increase the stacks all the way to 6. So that would make this 30% and 30%, and you can get that damage increase up another 10% when they're at their closest. So that'd be a 30% boost. Very, very cool. He's going to be stronger than Ix, I think. He reads extremely well. I definitely want this hero. Now we've got Ancient Blood. Like I told you, this is like the new Lord skill for the Unnamables. 4% team member damage boost, and it can go up to 6% at Awaken level 2. And now for his bond skill, his partner skill with Anora. When you obtain Anora, you unlock this bonus effect. There is a 20% chance to inflict an extra stack of Winter's Bite. When Ymiret receives fatal damage for the first time, he transforms into Dragon Egg with all his rage cleared. Dragon Egg inherits 50% of max HP, reduces block by 1, and stops gaining rage during its existence. If killed, deals 200% AoE damage to up to 10 adjacent enemies and inflicts freeze for 1 second. If not killed within 20 seconds, the hero revives. Okay, so he's like a phoenix. He goes back to being an egg, and if they kill him, it's a big blast of AoE damage, and if they can't kill him fast enough in those 20 seconds, well, he's back alive. You're back to square one. Is there anything about this can only be triggered once per battle? I don't think so. Oh, yes, it does. Fatal damage for the first time. So you can have one nice revival or one nice AoE blast. He sounds like a crazy hero. I certainly would love to snag a copy. Looks like he's going to be on a banner with Valderon, so that's really exciting. I'm going to go bonkers for that banner. I can't wait. Hopefully I've got a lot of ancients by then. So at A1, when the ultimate is triggered, deals 280% damage to a maximum of 10 enemies in range and inflicts freeze on them for 2 seconds. That's very strong, so another big AoE burst and a nice guaranteed freeze. 10 enemies, again, they're telling us every time the number. That's really cool. Let me move my head out of the way so you can see everything. The A2 we already talked about, the global damage boost instead of being 4% goes up another 2% to 6, so that's going to be for everyone you deploy. And then also he himself is getting a 5% attack boost to his base stats. A3, while the ultimate is not activated, there's a 30% chance for basic attack to trigger Winter's Bite. Seems really good. Winter's Bite is kind of integral to a lot of his kit. Additionally, the effect duration of Winter's Bite within the talent range is increased by 2 seconds. That's very nice. A4, rage regen attack plus 2, so every attack he does, he'll generate another 2 rage, and this will scale with rage regen percentage. Now A5, after casting the ultimate 2 times, increases the range of the subsequent ultimates. Interesting. So not expands the range, like fills out, into that full rectangle. It's going to extend it as well. So I guess maybe it's going to almost be like a piercer. We'll have like an extra line. Interesting. Hard for me to fully imagine what this is all going to be like. This is a crazy, crazy kit, but it reads tremendously strong. Alrighty, on to Myca, our new infernal magic damage dealing marksman. Where is she? She's this winged creature over here. Every single marksman needs to have something covering their eyes. That just seems to be a rule in Watcher of Realms. Let's get right into it. So this is her range without promotions. I'm assuming it's going to be the normal marksman range. Yes, it is the 3x4 rectangle. Let's see, her attack 3725. That's okay if it's single target, I guess. Not too thrilling. She's got the 2.0 second interval, 12 costs, all very standard things for a legendary single target marksman, which is what I'm already guessing she is. 14 rage regen auto. All right, looking pretty standard, looking pretty good. Let's start with her talent. Triggers Blazing Plume, we'll have to see what that is, for every 4 basic attacks. When Blazing Plume hits an enemy inflicted with burning, I presume she can put out burning, there is a 50% chance to trigger Conflagration. So 3 new things we're going to have to learn about, or I guess really 2. We already know what burning is. So Blazing Plume deals 50% magic damage 3 times and inflicts burning for 5 seconds. Okay, cool. So if they're already under burning when she deals the Blazing Plume, now it's going to trigger with a 50% chance Conflagration, which is deals 300% magic damage. Each burning inflicted on the target increases Conflagration's damage by 10% up to 70%. Right away, when we're talking about this quantity of burnings, I'm thinking Guild Boss hero, right? She seems like she's already designed to be a Guild Boss hero. Also, with this amount of burning, this amount of damage over time, it really seems like she's going to be an excellent choice for Arbiter of Frost, that specific damage over time codex, the dot damage codex. So let's go on to the basic attack. As you might expect, it's a magic damage dealing basic. It deals 100% magic damage to one enemy. It's 120% with skill ups, super standard. On to the ultimate. When activated, ignores 40% of the enemy's defense. That is nutty, because this thing can last 30 seconds. My god. Oh my god. And with skill ups, this can be 50% of the defense that it ignores. That's crazy. The number of basic attacks required for triggering Blazing Plume is now reduced to only 2. This lasts for 25 seconds, but again, with skill ups, it can be 30. The cost on this is pretty cheap at 800. Wow, this reads really, really, really strong. So she'll put out a lot of magic damage, a lot of burning, ignoring a lot of defense. Interesting that they're saying she's ignoring defense when she's dealing magic damage. I'm assuming it's more like a penetration kind of effect. She's also going to ignore the magic resistance. Regardless, very cool, very strong. Now to the first passive, Incendiary Rage. Every time Blazing Plume is triggered, increases crit damage by 7%, stacking up to 5 times. It sounds like this is going to be permanent. During the ultimate, the crit damage increases doubled, and all stacks are removed after the ultimate ends. Okay, crazy. So if you can get her pretty fast, so she's doing a lot of basic attacks, she's going to be that kind of hero. If you can get that going, she can get a lot of blazing plumes. With 5 stacks, that'd be 35%. But with skill ups, each stack now becomes 12%. All right, so it could be 60%. And then during the ultimate, it's going to double to 120% crit damage. And then it disappears afterwards. You got to get the stacks back up. Keep in mind, during that ultimate, when it goes up to 120, if you were at max stacks, she's also going to be ignoring half of their defense. She sounds crazy too. Are all these heroes amazing? What the heck? Then the next passive, Sharp Quill, deals 40% increased damage to enemies with shield. Okay, so she's like completely a guild boss hero. Wow, she's amazing. 40% increased damage, and this can go up to 50% increased damage. So Setrum 2.0 maybe. She'll be really good in Infernal Faction Trials. She should be really good in Void Rift. Wow, I'm blown away here. I'm really impressed. I really want this hero too. Okay, the A1, when attacking enemies with shields, increases attack speed by 150 for 5 seconds, so even better against shielded enemies. Now her A2, attack plus 300. Okay, so pretty standard. She doesn't have the highest attacks now. It's going to push that just over 4,000 to 4025. The A3, Conflagration, guarantees a crit hit. That's really nuts. But I think with a proper build, you're going to have her at 100% crit anyway. She's going to be crit capped. But for people that get her early mid game, that's pretty exciting. But also when you've got her A3 already, I don't know, you're probably going to want to have crit capped her regardless. I'm actually not that crazy about that. Interesting though, the A4 penetration plus 5%. That's weird. Almost always for a legendary. This is like the epic version. For legendaries, if there's a penetration increase from the A4, that's kind of a standard thing we see. It's always 8%. So only 5%, kind of a bummer. But keep in mind, she's already ignoring 50% during the ultimate with skill ups. So now it'll be 55. And now the A5, during the ultimate, the trigger chance of conflagration increases to 100%. Pretty nutty. Conflagration, again, is going to have a big burst of magic damage, and it can scale with a nice extra damage boost. Myca's looking to be another really strong hero. Definitely one I want. On to the next. All right, now we have got another marksman, this one from the Watch Guard. This is going to be Lucius. So Lucius, I know nothing about this guy, just like I knew nothing about Myca. What's going on with him? Piercing damage, marksman, all par for the course. You know, he's not some weird magic damage dealer like Myca was. Let's get into the stats first. Let's see. Very similar here, just over 3,700 attack. Looks like 2.0 second interval, so looking like he's going to be another single target marksman. He should be a bit more standard, right, since he is doing piercing damage. Let's check out the talent. After every basic attack landed, there is a 25% chance to launch a pursuit with his crossbow, dealing 80% damage. Every 2 pursuits triggered inflicts the hero with 1 stack of damnation. When damnation reaches 5 stacks, the hero triggers demonic embrace and clears his rage. Why is he in the Watch Guard if he's got moves called Damnation and Demonic Embrace? That does not seem like a Watcher kind of skill set, or at least the names that would be appropriate of a Watcher's skill set. So what is Demonic Embrace? Increases damage by 200%, so 3x on that. That's crazy. And reduces attack control by 30%. We love to see that. Attack speed is amazing this game. The more chances to deal damage, the better. Basic attack is guaranteed to trigger a pursuit, so really nice. You can get those stacks of Damnation a lot faster. Get those 5 stacks you need to, I guess, get another Demonic Embrace and keep it going. During the effect, cannot activate the ultimate, restore rage, or be inflicted with Damnation. Okay, so no, you can't get stacks of Damnation. So what's the point? I guess the pursuits are just going to help you deal a little bit extra damage. Interesting stuff. And also interesting that you can't trigger the ultimate, but I guess they're thinking this is powerful enough with the reduced attack interval, the damage boost, and the guaranteed pursuits. Very likely it could be. I don't know. I'll have to test them out. Now we have got the basic attack. It's going to be piercing damage, deals 100% damage to 1 enemy, 1 time, prioritizing airborne units. This goes up to 120, completely standard for a marksman. Now the ultimate, which again cannot be triggered during Demonic Embrace. Exorcism? How is this guy a Watcher? Like, what? The factions in this game make no sense. He's like some demonic cowboy. He doesn't even have pupils. All his moves are Demonic Embrace, Damnation, Exorcism. Watchers are supposed to be like the ones protecting the realm. They're the ones watching the goddamn realm. I do not get this. So it's 900 skill cost. You can get it down to 800. Decent initial cost here. Loads the weapon with Sanctified Bolts. Right, so now we've got some sanctity coming in. I guess the Exorcism is like a wholly positive thing. I don't know. Increasing the damage by 20% for 20 seconds. Basic attacks and pursuits deal an extra 100% damage 1 time. Pursuit has a 4%, and this can increase? No, it cannot. It has a 4% chance to dispel 1 buff from the target upon hit. 4%? 4% chance? A 1 in 25? I mean, that's nothing. When activated, dispels all damnations inflicted, and the hero won't be inflicted with damnation during the ultimate. I don't really, so this is like you can either have the Demonic Embrace going or the Exorcist. Maybe it's like the two sides of every coin. I don't know. Basic attack and pursuit extra damage can go up 50% with skill ups. The general damage increase can go up another 10%. I don't know. This feels weird to me. But it could be, I mean, the damage could be really nice. This is the kind of thing, it reads weird. We would just have to test it. So let's just quickly do the math. So an extra 100% damage, we can make an extra 150% from the pursuits and the basic attacks. Pretty strong. It doesn't sound crazy. There's nothing that happens the attack interval here, like we saw with the Demonic Embrace, which seemed quite nice. And then the general damage increase can be 30%. Maybe he's good. I don't know. Let's check out these passives. Tainted Spirit. During the effect of Demonic Embrace, every attack ignores 20% defense. That I like a lot. During the ultimate, increases single target damage by 20%. So it's kind of like he can either be this good guy exorcist kind of thing or this bad guy getting embraced by the demons inside. Seems like Demonic Embrace is just better and you want to get those stacks of damnation. Maybe you just don't even trigger the ultimate and you just try to rock this. I don't know. We'll have to test it out because ignoring defense is like king in this game. That penetration, that ignoring of defense can be 30%. And then also the extra damage during the ultimate, if it's just the normal exorcism, that can be 40%. Interesting. Now we got another passive, Crack Shot. When attacking elites or bosses, trigger chance of pursuits increases 10%, and basic attacks restore 8 extra rage. So we like that. And the extra rage regen, let's see, can be another 5, so it can be 13 extra rage. The ult isn't that expensive or costly at 800. I like that a lot. I think he could be the kind of guy that can nuke down the Succubus boss in Gear 3. That's the first thing that I'm seeing. I don't know where else you're really going to use him, but seems like a strong, potentially strong single target marksman damage dealer that can kind of fill that Sargok Silas role in Gear 3. Seems viable. We'll have to test it out. We'll have to see how it actually all manifests. The pursuit chance can also increase. All in all, it seems pretty good. Not blowing me away like the other guys, but who knows, with testing he might be a lot better than I think or a lot worse. Certainly he doesn't sound bad. Increases the pursuit damage by 25%. That's his Awaken level 1 for A2 plus 300 attack, very standard. Now the A3, during the ultimate, pursuit inflicts stun and damage reduction. So that's interesting. Now the Awaken 3, during the ultimate, pursuit inflicts stun and damage reduction. It seems like he's more of like a boss killer and you can't really stun elites and bosses, I think. Maybe you can. I'm not sure, actually. I don't think you can. I don't think you could stun like the Succubus boss, for example. So this kind of feels out of place for an A3, which is usually a very strong awakening for people. Damage reduction is the damage the enemy does to you is reduced. I don't love this A3. A4, all damage plus 8%. Fine, pretty nice little multiplier. Now the A5, during Demonic Embrace, dealing damage each time increases attack by 2%, up to a maximum increase of 36% increase in attack post-deployment. This effect lasts until the end of Demonic Embrace. I feel like you can kind of run him in two ways. And basically, as long as you're not triggering the ultimate, you can just make sure you're hitting these Demonic Embraces, which kind of feels like a substitution ultimate and just feels way better. I don't know. I'll have to test him out and see how it all goes. Very interesting stuff with Lucius. We've got 2 more. We're going to do Jeera and then Init. All right, so Jeera, we have covered her a little bit through the leaks when we reacted to Destin's content. What is going on with her? Let's see. Does this range increase with promos? No, it doesn't. So she's got just a kind of boring nowadays. For a fighter and a legendary fighter, only to have 1 tile range. Not the coolest thing in the world. But she's got damage, escalating, and counterattack. If you guys don't remember, she's the hero who's like all about HP, and then she also makes herself vulnerable, so she takes a lot of damage, and then she'll depending on how much damage she takes, she can do some big damage, kind of counterattacking back at her enemies. So let's start with the talent here. Also, definitely worth mentioning, she's an Arbiter and a Northerner, so her and Init are 2 new Arbiters that we're getting in this game. We haven't had any Arbiters added since they initially came to Watch of Realms. So that was like 6 or 7 months ago. So cool that her and Init have now arrived or are about to arrive. So her talent increases max HP by 30%, which is crazy because let me show you her stats. She has the highest now. She will have the highest when she arrives, the highest max HP in the entire game, plus her talent's going to make that even higher. She also has super high attack, just crazy base stats, really, really cool stuff. 17 cost, which is really nice. Quite typical of fighters with this standard attack range of like just a tile. If you think of someone like Abomination, to be fair, he gets extended range during his ult. She doesn't, but hopefully the rest of the kit makes up for it. So increases max HP by 30%. The higher the current HP percentage, the higher the hero's vulnerability. So vulnerability means she takes more damage. This actually does synergize with her very unique kit, as you guys are about to see. So let's go to the basic attack now. Very standard. It's a physical damage attack, 120% damage to one enemy. Got it. Now the ultimate, this is where it starts getting crazy. Triumphant Resolve. It's 900 cost. It can go down to 800. When activated, restores 75% of her HP immediately. During the skill, increases max HP by 40%. With skill ups, this can be 60%. So if she didn't already have the highest max HP in the game, which she will have, if she didn't already get a 30% boost from her talent, which she does, now during the ultimate, she gets another 60% boost with skill ups. Just crazy. You could see colossal HP on this girl. Damage dealt will also be increased by 125%. This can go up to 175, and her attack interval is increased, interesting, by 30%. All of this lasts for 20 seconds. The effect will be permanent upon the second activation. So actually funny that I mentioned Abomination earlier. Same kind of thing. After the second use of his ultimate, it becomes permanent. That's a very cool thing. So she's a little bit slower, but she's a crazy tank. And she does a nice chunk more damage. So the passives are where it's going to all start to make sense. If we go to this one, Divine Reprisal, for every 3 basic attacks, it's weird how they write this. The fourth, so she has 3 normal basic attacks. The fourth one then will be 150% damage, along with fully defense penetrating damage, so ignoring all defense, equal to whatever damage she previously received in the period since her last 4th basic, if that makes sense. And that's why she's so tanky. That's why she puts vulnerability on herself so she takes more damage, because every 4th basic attack, she's going to completely ignore defense and basically mirror the damage she received in that interval back at the enemy. Very, very cool stuff. The accumulated damage taken will be reset once it takes effect, so it's on this 4 basic attack cycle. The accumulated damage will not exceed 150% of the hero's max HP. Okay, cool. Now the damage can increase by an additional 50%, so that's very nice. Let's go to the next passive, Mark of Retribution. So this is where a lot of the counter-attacking is going to come. Inflicts Retribution on enemies. What is Retribution? Let's see. The caster receives 30% more damage from units inflicted with Retribution. So she's actually putting a debuff on the enemies so they do more damage to her, which seems weird, but because she's so tanky, she should be a-okay. We'll have to see this in practice, but this will allow her to have received more damage that she can then essentially reflect back and fully ignore defense every 4th basic attack. When attacking a target inflicted with Retribution, deals additional damage equal to 2% of the hero's max HP, and I think this will increase. Yes, it can go up to 4% of hero's max HP. Might not sound like much, but her max HP with all those things folded in, during the ult and with the talent and with her crazy max HP to start, it could be like 150k. It could be crazy. All damage received from enemies not inflicted with Retribution is reduced by 20%, so kind of important she places Retribution on heroes. However, if she hasn't, at least she's not going to, get worn down and killed very quickly, but she is the kind of unit, as you can see, where she wants to take a lot of damage to get it right back at. Also, if you didn't catch it, she has an HP restore built into her ultimate. So the whole thing, theoretically, it sounds very good. It's very unique. Sounds like it could work very well. Now, switching targets removes the Retribution inflicted on the previous target, so she can only place Retribution on one target at a time, essentially. Pretty cool stuff. Now she's going to have an Arena Mastery. This is standard of all chaotic units and Arbiters and Watcher of Realms. Increases damage in the arena by 15%. I could see her being just tremendous in Arena, dealing some really big kind of like delety damage with the ignoring defense, and obviously just being a crazy, crazy tank. Already Praetus is goated for single target arena. I think if you get her in the mix and on an Arbiter team with her and Praetus, to me that sounds crazy. I could also see her just being tremendous in Guild Wars, in GVG. So that kind of covers it all. Let's get into the Awakenings. Obviously going to be hard to get Awakenings of her. Almost certainly she's going to be an Ancient exclusive Arbiter that you can only get her from Ancient Summons. A1 over here, dealing damage to enemies will consume 1 stack of Radiant Erosion on them to deal additional damage equal to 4% of the hero's max HP, and it inflicts stun. So obviously you're going to have to run her with some other Arbiters that inflict Radiant Erosion. So clearly they want to go for this Arbiter synergy. Now the A2 plus 300 attack. Cool. The A3, once HP drops below 25%, grants a shield to her equal to 100% of max HP for 15 seconds. This effect can only be triggered one time per deployment, so if you're running her in a Northerner team, that shield can be pretty useful. A4 now, penetration plus 8%, pretty standard. Again, there you go, 8%. As we saw before, was it Myca maybe, where it was 5%? 5% is atypical for a legendary hero. It's always 8% for the A4. Now A5, when an enemy is inflicted with retribution for more than 5 seconds, so she's really keying in on one enemy for a while, increases damage dealt to this enemy by 15%, so it's going to make it easier for her to kill that enemy and move on to the next, essentially. All in all, she sounds extremely unique. Hopefully in practice it's as good as it sounds. I want to say one final thing before we move on to Init. Her Northerner dual faction membership feels a little off to me. Obviously, she's going to be crazy tanky, and that's going to be awesome. And Northerners are like the tanky faction. However, for her to deal damage, she needs to take damage. And if she's in a Northerner comp with huge shields and a lot of protection, she's not going to be taking as much damage. You know, if you're running her with King Hearts and his Lord skills always putting out shields or things like this, or Isolde, so on and so on, Vortex putting out some big shields, Gwendolyn, I don't see a synergy there. Nothing in her kit leads to more damage from shields, so that will all be dependent on Lord skills. I think clearly she's much more of an Arbiter, or at least that's how she's designed, than a Northerner. All right, let's go to Init and let's wrap this thing up. I've been filming for an hour. There's so much to go through. So Init is an Esotericist mage and an Arbiter as well. We're all going to get him eventually. He's free to play. He is the reward for the Odyssey quests. Let's go pretty quick here. I know a lot of people have covered him. This is actually the first time I've ever looked at him, though. So he has 4,513 attack. That's fairly low. He's got this typical single target mage range of the 3x3 square with the one extra dot on top, just like someone like Comet. The rest of the stats seem very standard. 2.6 interval, 14 rage gen, completely standard. Let's get into that kit. We'll start with the talent as always. When deployed, immediately assigns an ancient core, we'll have to see what that is, to up to 4 allied heroes within the skill range to assist each of them. After that, assigns an ancient core to 2 allied heroes every 8 seconds. Each ancient core lasts 20 seconds. What's an ancient core? Let's find out. Autonomously attacks an enemy in range equal to the attack range of the assigned ally, dealing damage equal to 20% of Init's attack per second. All right, and it lasts 20 seconds. So 20% of his attack per second lasting 20 seconds. Feels very interesting. Let's do the basic attack now. Completely standard magic damage dealing attack, 120% with skill ups, 100% base. Now the ultimate. God, there's a lot to read today, folks. Oblivion. It is a manual ult. It is 1,200 cost. With skill ups, you can get that down to 1,000. Keep in mind, he's also an Esotericist, so if you run him with an Esotericist Lord, that can be 15% less if it's Raiden, 25% less if it's a legendary, so Cyrus or Venoma. When the ultimate is activated, Init starts to attack the unit with the highest current HP in range and commands every ancient core, so all those ancient cores he's been putting out on the field to enter hypercharged state, which is refreshes the ancient core's duration. All right, because normally they last 20 seconds. Now they're all refresh, and reduces the attack interval by 50%, increases the damage by 100%. So now these ancient cores have become hypercharged, I guess. So it's doing 20% of his attack per damage. Now it's doubling that, right? 100% more damage, and it's twice as fast. Is that what they're saying? The attack roll by 50%? Yeah, so it's every half a second. And their refresh sounds very, very, very strong. When the ultimate ends, each ancient core launches an enhanced attack to Init's current target regardless of attack range. So it's a global kind of hit here, dealing 150% damage and then implodes. Okay, so he refreshes them so they last the duration of his entire ultimate, which is 7.5 seconds. They get in this hypercharged state. They do a lot of damage. The interval's cut in half, so it's every half a second. They're doing this crazy stuff. But then at the end, regardless of where they are on the field, right, they've all been paired up with different allies. They're going to go into Init's attack range and target whoever he's keying in on, dealing 150% damage, and then they all implode. So they all go kaput. Now with skill ups, you can get, like I said, the cost can go down to 100, but the hypercharged state damage increase can go up for a total of 150%. So instead of being 100% damage boost, it is going to be a 250% damage boost, again, coming off of 20% of his attack. Kind of crazy. Very unique kits in these new heroes. Now the passive, Shackles of Grace. When attacking, each ancient core has a 20% chance to deal extra true damage equal to 20% attack and heal the assigned ally for 10% of the true damage dealt. That heal can go up another 10% to a 20% heal based on the true damage dealt, and the true damage dealt can go up from 20% to 30%. This is significant, right? A lot of the stuff here is based off of his attack, and then there's some true damage built in. So I think you kind of want to just build his attack to the moon. Then you start thinking about crit and stuff. But obviously true damage cannot crit. So he's going to be the kind of hero where you just really want him to have sky high attack. Interesting that he has fairly low base attack. But maybe he would be too OP if it was, 5,000 or 5,500. Let's continue now. The next passive, Underworld Command. Each ancient core assigned upon Init's deployment grants damage increase to the assigned ally. So he's got this healing, he's got this support stuff he can do with his allies. He seems like a kind of a jack of all trades, maybe a master of a lot of trades as well. So each ancient core assigned upon the initial deployment grants damage increase to the assigned ally. This is a 15% damage increase, and then any subsequent ancient cores that are assigned afterwards are going to grant a slightly smaller increase. So this is 15%, and the next one will be 10%. With skill ups, these can be stronger though. So the deployment one, we can get another 10%. And then here we can get at level 5, so another 15% total. So that can be a 30% damage increase on his original deployment when he assigns his ancient cores, and then at level 4 the assigned afterwards one, so when he puts out more ancient cores later on, that will be another 15%. Really confusing kit, guys. This guy you're gonna have to get a dissertation in Watcher of Realms studies to fully understand this. We'll just have to do a lot of testing and then it will start making sense. We can get into Awakenings, but I can't imagine we're getting any Awakenings for him anytime soon. They'll have to add a Tide 2.0. That's obviously the only way we can get Awakenings for Volca, or you're gonna have to use Soul Stones on him. So let's see. At A1, when deployed, assigns Ancient Core to one more ally. Cool. So now just another ally is going to get that Ancient Core, plus 5% at A2, very standard. At the A3, when assigning Ancient Cores to allies, he also assigned ones to himself. That's very nice. So now he can benefit from those damage increases. He can benefit from the heals based on the damage that the true damage does from the Ancient Cores. The A4, Rage Regen Auto +1. So this is very simple. He'll generate one more rage per second, full stop. That's all that means. And the Awaken level 5. Ancient Core has a 33%, so a 1 in 3 chance of reviving after the ultimate. So after the ultimate, right, they all explode, or implode is the word they use, and they go, and then he has to assign new ones. There's now a 1 in 3 chance for each one that they will just immediately revive and last another 20 seconds on whatever target it had been placed on. So that seems supremely strong. 1 in 3, not too high, but if you put a bunch of Ancient Cores out, could be really, really nice. Seems insanely strong, very confusing. Gonna have to do a lot of testing with him. I'm sure we all will, because we're all gonna get him, at some point. He's a free-to-play hero. Very cool stuff. Crazy heroes, guys. This is a lot to take in all at once. I hope you appreciate it. I'll be actually doing guides on all this stuff. I believe I'll start with Anora, and Ymiret will work from there. So much happening in Watcher of Realms. I really hope things are ramping up for the better with the anniversary coming and all this new content, these new heroes. Let me know what you guys think. Get in the comments, like it, share it with your mother. I've been Fastidious. I'll see you real soon.
Fastidious.